Hi friends, today we're going to talk about our quiz from Friday, table of values and linear functions. Starting at number 1, it says graph the linear equations by using a table of values. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and I'll use blue. I'm going to take these x values, which are my inputs, and I'm going to replace them with x. So instead of having x, when I rewrite this equation, it's going to be y equals 1/2 times -2 minus 3. Now remember, friends, that when I multiply by a half, that's the same as dividing by 2. So -2 divided by 2 is -1, and -1 minus 3 is -4. So my coordinate pair here is going to be -2, -4. For the second bar here for 0, I'm going to plug in y equals 1/2 times 0 minus 3. A half times 0 just is 0. I'm left with -3. So my ordered pair is going to be 0, -3. And then last but not least, 2, y equals 1/2 times 2 minus 3. 1/2 times 2 is just 1, and 1 minus 3 is -2. So my ordered pair is 2, -2. Now I'm going to go ahead and plot these on my coordinate grid. So I'm going to go to the left 2 and down 4. I'm going to go down to 3, and then I'm going to go to the right 2 and down 2. And I'm going to go ahead and draw my line through those points. And there we go. We have graphed our table of values. Moving down to the second page, this is what data table matches the description. The output is 1/3 of the input. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is rewrite this statement. So I'm going to rewrite this as y equals 1/3 times x, because the output is y and I know that my input is x. Now I need to see which table lines up with this equation. The first table I know can't possibly be it, because my y-intercept here is 0, -3, and my y-intercept for this equation is not -3, so it could not be table A. Looking at my y-intercept for table B, 0, 0, remember the y-intercept is the y value where x is 0. Well, I know my y-intercept here is 0, so table B could work or table C could work. So let's go ahead and look at table B. If I plug in my x value here, -6, y equals -6 divided by 3, I end up getting -2. Well, then I know that table B can't be it, because when I plug in -6, I should get -2. Instead, I get -18. So that could not possibly work. So I know my answer for number 2 has to be data table C. Moving down to number 3, it says match the graph to the correct equation. Okay, so I'm going to first look for where my line, this line, crosses the y-axis. And if I look at this graph and I look at this equation, I see that it crosses at -2. So my ordered pair would be 0, -2. So I need to find an equation with a y-intercept of -2. Looking here at C, I see C has a y-intercept of -2. So this first graph for number 3 is going to be my equation C. And we'll talk more about slope next week. My next graph, I see that it crosses the y-axis here at the point 0, 3. So I need to find an equation with a y-intercept of 3. A has a y-intercept of +3, so I know that this second graph here has to match equation A. And then finally, what I'm left over with, this last graph has a y-intercept where this line crosses a y-axis at -3. And my equation that's left that has a y-intercept of -3 is B. Moving down to number 4, which data table matches the graph? Okay, so again, I'm looking for my y-intercept, so where this line crosses a y-axis, which is at -3, so 0, -3. So I need to find a table with that ordered pair. Well, I know table A isn't it because that's 0, 3. Table B could work because it's 0, -3, and table C could work because it's 0, -3. So to narrow the two down, I need to look at my other points on this graph. So looking at 1, -1, I move to the right one and down one. That is indeed a point on this graph. The second point, +2, +1, that also works. And the last point, +3, +3, that also works. So I know that my answer for number 4 is going to be table B. All of those points line up on my graph. And then our last question here, the graphs below represent y as a function of x. Place one additional point on each coordinate plane so that the graph represents a function and it does not represent a function. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and plot a point here because I know that all of my points are separate. None of the inputs are the same, so it is a function. And to make this graph here not a function, I'm going to go ahead and plot a point here, because as you can see, these 2 points are on the same vertical line. And in order for a function, or in order for something not to be a function, I cannot have 2 points on the same vertical line.